To some, God is the absolute perfect being who created our world and all the worlds in the cosmos. Believers in this being call out to it day and night in hope that their prayers might be answered or that their lives might be affected in some way. Throughout human history, there have been many religions, each trying to discover and explore the reason for our existence. The theory held by the majority of people that explains our existence is one of a being that we have traditionally come to know as God. To Muslims, this being is referred to as Allah. To Christians, it is Jehovah or the Father. And to Jews, it is Hashem, or simply the name, a reference to the unpronounceable tetragrammaton name for God in the Tanakh. But who or what exactly is this God? Join me today as we try and unravel the mystery behind this conundrum. Before we get started, I would like to thank all my returning subscribers. Thank you all for your continued support, and I hope I can continue to make these videos as entertaining and as educational as I possibly can for you. As for those who have yet to subscribe, please do remember to subscribe and like the video. So without further ado, let's get started with the video. In order to understand who or what God is, we must first understand where the word and term God comes from. The English word God is derived from the Proto-Germanic word Gudan, which some believe to have originated from a reconstruction of a word which meant to either call or to invoke. The name itself seems to have been used for someone you would call or invoke for help or sustenance, and it could be applied to all genders. The someone you invoked also didn't have to be a supernatural entity or a higher being. However, during the process of the Christianization of the Germanic people from the indigenous paganism, the word became a masculine syntactic form, only being reserved for males. Although this is somewhat helpful, it does not answer much of what we are trying to uncover throughout this video, so perhaps we would have to narrow it to a specific concept of God. When we say God, we are obviously referring to somewhat a similar being to the one meant in the Judeo-Christian Islamic traditions, the sole creator of the cosmos and its sustainer. That will perhaps aid us in eliminating some of the unwanted variables. Contrary to what some might think, it would not be Judaism, Christianity, or Islam that we would have to start examining in order to unravel what God is. Rather, we would have to first journey to the Indian subcontinent, where we would encounter the world's oldest religion, i.e., Hinduism. Hinduism may not be a unified religion per se, or organized into a distinct belief system, but Hindus roughly follow the same central traditions. The first and foremost of these is a belief in the Vedas, 4 texts compiled between the 15th and 5th centuries BCE on the Indian subcontinent, and the faith's oldest scriptures, which makes Hinduism, without a doubt, the oldest religion in existence. It has since evolved into a diverse and flexible tradition. It should be noted here that God, as described in the Vedas, is first and foremost not an anthropomorphic being with supernatural powers, or a being who awards punishments and rewards based on people's actions. Hindus essentially recognize God in the Vedas as being without attributes, without opinions, without form, with no finality, and timeless. The Upanishads cite the following concept of God: that which makes the tongue speak, but which cannot be spoken by the tongue; that which makes the mind think, but which cannot be thought by the mind; that which makes the eyes see, but which cannot be seen by the eyes. If you understand the meaning of I neither know nor don't know, then you understand God. Those who know that God cannot be known truly know God. In other words, God is the all-pervading divine energy with no attributes, opinions, and no form, and is infinite, meaning that everything is a part of God. In this understanding, salvation is only achieved by realizing and seeing things from a transcendent level, which in turn frees the mind from all worldly obstacles. This is one of the reasons why sages in Hinduism can be elevated to a level of divinity and thereby worshipped, since they have transcended this mortal realm and have achieved a higher concept of consciousness. Hinduism perceives the whole creation and its cosmic activity as the work of three fundamental forces symbolized by three gods, which constitutes the Hindu Trinity or Trimurti, that is, Brahma, the creator, Vishnu, the sustainer, and Shiva, the destroyer. These three make up Brahman, i.e. the general term for the supreme almighty being in Hinduism. Of these three, Brahma is the force of creation, and it created the universe and everything in it, as depicted in Hindu cosmology. And this is also the deity to whom the Vedas are attributed. A way the ancient Vedic texts describe the concept of God is by conceptualizing a spider and its web. The spider creates the web from within itself and brings it into being, then resides within the web itself. Similarly, our physical universe has been created out of this all-supreme God, and this God is pervading this universe, which means that God or Brahman is contained within the universe as well as its container. In Hindu cosmology, the universe exists for a single day. This day is equivalent to 4 billion years on Earth, at the end of which the whole universe gets dissolved. This process is called pralaya, which repeats for 100 years, a period that represents Brahma's lifespan. After Brahma's death, in quotations, it is necessary that another 100 of his years pass until he is reborn and the entire creation begins anew. The deity Shiva is the concept of this periodic destruction that follows every creation, whereas Vishnu is the preserving force that maintains this periodic creation. Since the entire universe is said to be divine in the Vedic traditions, Hindus worship every form of nature as God, though not to be confused with the Almighty Supreme Being, rather as part of the divine wholeness. God is in everything and everything is in God. Since most of us are incapable of conceptualizing the formlessness, the attributelessness, and the infinity of this Supreme Being, Hindus opt for worshipping representations of this Supreme Divinity in different forms of nature, such as rain, water, cows, snakes, trees, mountains, hills, planets, stars, moon, and so much more. Personification of God in Hinduism is a simplification to express devotion by those who are unable to comprehend the formless universal consciousness as God. Contrary to the popular belief, Hindus do not worship idols as gods. Instead, Hindus worship God through idols. An idol is used as an object of concentration, which one can focus on and use it as a medium to try and realize the supreme divine being. It is similar to Christians using a cross. The Vedic texts proclaim that there is but one truth, and learned scholars call it by different names. This fundamental philosophy of the Vedic texts makes Hinduism less in favor of conversions, for there is no reason to convert from one religion to another when God is one and the same for all people irrespective of their religion. I hope that all of you were able to easily follow along. There is so much more fascinating things to learn about Hinduism, but because we have several religions to go through, I opted for condensing this video to the essentials. Safe to say, I was fairly impressed by how nuanced and extraordinary Hinduism really is in its theology. It is only when you peel back the preconceived layers of misrepresentation that you are able to appreciate the wonder in its concept of the divine. Although I am not fully sold on all of its depictions of God, there is so much there that is similar to my own conception of God. In a later video, I will sum up my own convictions and concepts about God once we have unraveled the theologies of other major faiths. In the next video, we'll be looking at Zoroastrianism, a faith so similar in theology and tradition to the three monotheistic religions. Later on, we will also take a look at some of the Egyptian mythological understandings of the divine and see if there is anything that we can use in this venture. Stay safe everyone and take care of yourselves. I hope to see you again in the next video. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.